David Boyer is in Poland, Maine this morning. Not Poland, the country, I'm guessing. David, welcome back to GHRT. How's everything this morning, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing well. George is recovered from a flu bug, so he is still out. He's going to come back on Monday, all rested and refreshed, I believe. We talked with Paul McCary of the Maine Craft Cannabis Association about this a while back because it had us scratching our heads because there was an issue. Let's refresh listeners' memory on what the issue is, and then you can take us down the path to some sort of sane solution to it. And it has to do with products that are edibles, but a requirement that they be all stamped or labeled, and that included every single edible. It's confusing to us. Explain to us why we're talking about what we're talking about this morning, would you, David?
Of course, and thanks for having me. Essentially the law that was passed said that every edible sold, every dose of every edible need to be marked or stamped with this universal symbol. So think about a chocolate bar that has 10 doses. There'd be 10 little stamps on the rectangle on the chocolate bar.
Okay.
Now for the gummies, this is done through the molds process when they create them. And these operators have complied. They had existing molds, but they went out and spent, tens of thousands of dollars to purchase new molds with the universal symbol to be compliant. And they have been. And the issue arose when some inspectors don't think that the symbol is legible, while others do. These are field inspectors for the Office of Cannabis Policy. And what that has led is to uneven and unfair enforcement of the rules, where it becomes subjective. If you can imagine, 3 former police in your store looking at your gummy and arguing with each other if it's legible or not, and they can't agree, so then they send it up the chain to see what their bosses say. So this is, the industry is all for regulation to protect public health and public safety, but this is beyond the pale. This is the department picking winners and losers and choosing which products go to market and which don't. And unfortunately, and really disconcertingly, it seems like those who come up to Augusta speak out about the industry and the department are the ones that get messed with. So from where I'm sitting around the horseshoe, it feels like there's retaliation by this department, and that's unacceptable.
A lot of listeners, when they heard about this, questioned the fact that the package in which the gummies already come, and this came from people who, as I recall, David, even one person writing to us, I don't choose to use these marijuana, their term was marijuana-laced products, okay? But the idea that you can put the stamp on the package, that should be enough. They were scratching their head thinking that they really needed the symbol on every little package.
Absolutely. And, folks just kind of throw up these crazy hypotheticals where, someone buys a pack of gummies and then dumps them all in a bowl on their coffee table and then throws away the packaging and then has guests over and they don't tell them what's in the bowl of gummies. And it's just not something that really happens. I mean, we're concerned with it, but like you said, these are products that by law are already in child-resistant, tamper-evident packaging with the universal symbol on the packaging. And another example of this, really over-regulation by the department, a gentleman had the universal symbol on his packaging, and the department wanted him to sticker tens of thousands of packages because the marijuana leaf in the triangle above contains THC on that universal symbol. His marijuana leaf was a little too thin. It wasn't quite as thick as the one on the website. There was some clerical error with the operator, and he somehow, grabbed the wrong universal symbol at some point. But it's the same marijuana leaf in the same triangle that says contains THC, but his marijuana leaf's just a little too skinny. I sent that to you on Facebook, Rick, for you to take a look at whenever you have time, so you can see for yourself what we're dealing with. It's horrible. Now we're dealing with these proposed rules by the department that are even less prescriptive, and give the department more power to take broad interpretations of the law. So these are the kind of things that cannabis industry, medical and adult use are dealing with when they're just trying to run a business in Maine, which, as you probably know, the state of Maine makes it really hard to run a business. And if you're in the cannabis industry in Maine, then forget about it. You're facing exorbitant fines, anywhere between 10 or 20 times more than the harshest liquor penalties. And these businesses are payroll to payroll. I know it seems like, there's a pot shop on every corner and these guys are rolling in it. And maybe about 3 to 5 years ago, you could make that argument, and maybe they were. But that is not the case anymore.
Well, rolling in it has a different meaning when you say it. We're talking to State Representative David Boyer, the Republican of Poland, this labeling symbol issue on every edible. And by the way, I did look at the photo. I have no problem discerning. Now, I do not choose to, and I never have, enjoyed something that contains THC. But I can tell that's a THC. That symbol, those leaves do not look too small to me or too thin to me. I'm not going to mistake that for the Canadian maple leaf anytime soon. All right. Now, what is the solution? Has there been a breakthrough of any sort?
Well, our committee worked this bill, and I appreciate my colleagues. We took a little bit, and ultimately we just decided to carve out gummies among some other products that the department have already said are impractical to stamp, and put that in the law so that we can help these small businesses bring their products to market and make a living. So we got a 9-2 report. All the Republicans report, most of the Democrats, even bringing on folks like Senator Jeff Timberlake, who will tell you he's not the biggest fan of weed, but he's learning, as he likes to admit, and he understands it's a business just like any other business, and there should be rules of the road and they should be fair. But that's not what's happened. That's why I started a petition to fire the director. He came here a year ago from out of state to take over the new position, and he's been trashing our industry ever since. He's done nothing to help or support the people that have created this $500 million industry for the state of Maine. Frankly, cannabis is the duct tape and bubble gum that holds our economy together these days. A real cottage industry that employs folks, ancillary businesses, heat pumps, as you guys talked about on the show. And that's what's frustrating, is that these guys have crossed the T's, dotted the I's, done everything they can to choose to follow the rules, to do this legally. Meanwhile, there's folks that do it illegally with seemingly impunity. That's starting to change, thanks to folks that like the Maine Wire and you guys talking about it. But to see that stuff going on, where there's no taxes, no testing, no seed to sell software, no cameras down your neck 24/7. It's really hard for these guys to keep doing it in the light when that's how they're being treated like criminals, and the criminals aren't being treated like criminals.
Is this happening in any other state? Because this is a state-to-state thing. This is Maine says you got to do this, New Hampshire says you got to do this for those states. Is anybody else going through these hoops or having to jump through these hoops, as you point out?
The software is similar in a lot of states. The rules vary from state to state, as you said. But I'd say yes. This, I don't want to put on the tinfoil hat here, but it's, pretty obvious that this is a new industry, a nascent industry that's going to be worth a lot of money. So it's not surprising that big corporations that already have infrastructure and either tobacco or alcohol or otherwise, of course they're going to want to get into this. But they want to be successful by regulatory capture, by changing their rules to benefit them and to crush the small businesses. And so that's what's going on now in Maine, is they're, trying to grind out these Mainers and lay out the red carpet for big cannabis and out-of-state corporations. The director himself says that one of his jobs he feels like is to get Maine ready for federal legalization so that we can be an import state, so we can buy our weed from out of state and bring it here. And it's just like, what are you talking about, man? You're supposed to promote our industry. You're supposed to talk about how we have the best cannabis in the country and how we're going to, export our cannabis out there. I mean, look at our brewery, our, small breweries with beer, craft brewing. Allagash is all the way over on the West Coast. And so to say that, Maine cannabis can't be sold in other states, it's not becoming of someone who's supposed to support and regulate the industry. And it's just really clear because, I'm on the VLA committee, so we got alcohol, we got gambling, lotto, casinos, When those regulators come in here, they talk about, we got this much money for the state, people are buying Tito's, people are buying Allen's, people are buying these scratch-offs, and they support them and they're partners with the industry. But it's radically different with cannabis, and I don't know that it needs to be. They just want to be treated like every other business with fair rules of the road that let them make a little money while also, balancing public health and safety. But our current regulations are not a balance of that at all.
A listener just tuning into the conversation, they heard you say something and they're asking for the clarification. Are you calling for the head of the office to step down?
Yeah, I started a petition. We crested 420 signatures this morning, if you can believe it. Okay. I think we're at 423. We're on our way to 500 by the end of the day. And it's, I think that's a lot of support for getting a, kind of unknown bureaucrat, to go. It's not like he kicked Trump off the ballot or anything, but here we are. People know who this guy is because of how much damage he's done to our state, our industry. He says he's a medical cannabis patient, but he won't smoke Maine medical cannabis. And that's because it's not mandated testing. There is testing, but because the government doesn't say everybody must test this 3 times over, he won't support it, and he thinks it's okay to talk crap about it. In fact, a $300 million industry for our state, both of which bring in tens of millions of dollars in taxes that these guys have to pay before they even sell their cannabis. They have to pay the Maine Revenue Service. That's how bad things are with the adult use operators right now. Most of the growers are on payment plans with Maine Revenue Services, and they're really subsidizing their adult use operation with their medical profits because of how messed up the rules are right now.
And finally, a listener asks, remind me, they want to know because they've heard you mention, but who's the guy that's running the operation that is maybe the focus of this petition? What's the name of the gentleman that's running the office?
Sure. I don't want to make him a victim here, but his name's Director John Hudak. He's from the Brookings Institute. He was put in this position a year ago or so, and we were actually Facebook acquaintances from the cannabis reform movement. And when I saw that he got the position, I was excited. I thought that we'd be able to work collaboratively, push some issues. Maybe he'd be supportive of expanding the program with like on-site consumption or whatnot. So, we met a year ago and we had a good meeting, and I was hopeful, but that has definitely changed since, obviously.
Yeah. State Representative David Boyer, thanks for the Q&A this morning. Let us know how this petition works out. We'll come back to this topic here on the George Hildrich Tyler Show on VOM.